You mentioned there about the burning soul, and whilst reading it, I very quickly I took on board that it was a completely different book. In that element of otherness that goes through your work, it is there, but not to the same extent. There was an urban feel to the book with regards to the Irish gangs in Boston, and that sort of organised crime element that forms a part of the book. I'm not going to give anything away, don't worry. Did you enjoy writing that? Because it did seem to be quite different.
Everything in it's different, really.
Yeah.
The prose style
Mm-hmm.
is denser and probably richer, and it's the first time because I had such an antipathy towards writing anything that had to do with Ireland. It was the first time that I actually
Well, that's what surprised me.
engaged with. It was quite interesting to do that kind of dialogue and those kinds of people. And it was curious at the time, just shortly after I delivered. So I was doing the final edits, literally writing the acknowledgements. They picked up Whitey Bulger, who'd been living in California with his Dolly Bird partner for ages. Walking dogs, I think, and all the neighbours said the same thing. You know, he kept himself to himself, but none of them liked him, even though they never talked to him for years. They all thought he was a vaguely threatening figure with a very short temper. Yeah, you think
vaguely?
Vaguely. I mean, the guy. You know, if you start digging under the beaches around Boston, half the people he knew were under there. You know, vaguely, exactly. So it was quite interesting to use that kind of stylized dialogue and to as you say, that the otherworldliness is still there, but it feels like a more disciplined book. I finished it and I thought, that's okay. Mm-hmm. And we're in that kind of stuff. About you, we if you listen to Martin Amis talking or John Mandel talking, and I'm not, they're both very fine writers. They have a real distrust of the use of the word craft about writing. They think that all writing is art. And certainly most creative work, and I was listening to Isabel as well, you know, I think we all aspire to creating art, but you do it through craft. You kind of hack away at it. And the best most of us can hope for is that you put a book down or you finish a book and you think, that's actually probably an okay day's work. You know, that was probably as good as I could do as a craftsman on a book. Yeah. And there's a certain amount of satisfaction in putting a book down, because you never know whether it's good or not until it goes out there.
Did you feel, you said the prose is maybe a little bit denser and richer, did you feel that as you were doing it?
I was very consciously doing it. Yeah, I thought if I wasn't going to be doing all of this...
Because there's very little action.
No, but that's the trick is, can you draw people in without using the armory of stuff that you fall back on as a writer? Because we all have tricks. And again, I'm curious about this with Isabel. Are there kind of songwriter tricks? Do you find yourself doing things occasionally, because you know you do them well? You can see maybe a chord progression in a song or a little twist.
Yeah.
I think we do. We have a kind of repertoire of just, they're like gags for comedians. You know, they're the ones you know get a laugh. And I think sometimes you can fall back on them a bit much. And it's actually really interesting to set aside all of those and say, right, this is really an experiment to see, can you do it in some other way? Can you draw readers in through something very, very different? And not alienate them, not alienate the people who've bought the books before. And I guess I'm lucky in that I have flicked around a little bit, so there is a kind of expectation that it's not going to be exactly the same book every time. But it was an opportunity to write something different, and you kind of then, you stand or fall on it. It's what you've done, and it's what you wanted to do.